位来宾午安。最后一场语谈，建构安全又有活力的网络环境。
Good afternoon. Welcome to our fourth and final session of the day. Let us welcome our moderator, Mr. Chen Zhongzheng, acting chairperson of the NCC. Next, I would like to invite our panelists.
Mila Bustani, Director.
Next, let us welcome Mr. Degan Chen, the consultant from the Ministry of Digital Affairs. Tang Jiashuo, research manager of the Open Culture Foundation. And then finally, we would like to invite Huang Minghui, Professor, Associate Dean of the College of Law at National Taipei University. I will now give the floor to our moderator.
好，谢谢11号现场的各位贵宾，女士先生哈，大家下午好哈，那非常欢迎参加我们 NCC 的论坛的，今天算是继前面昨天到今天。
Welcome to our final session. Yes. Our topic for this session is building a safe and vibrant internet environment. We understand that safety and vibrancy are very important, but it is also very difficult to balance the two. We chose this topic for discussion because we want to consolidate all of the discussions that we have had over the past 6 sessions. We have listened to experts and scholars from different countries. We have listened to their experiences. Therefore, we hope that in this session, we will take a broader approach. We want to listen to their experiences and explore possibilities. Our discussants are experts in their respective fields. They come from the government, from the industry, and from the academia. They can, therefore, they are very representative of the industry. Today, I would like to once again introduce our panelists. First, we have Ms. Camilla Bustani. He is the director international director of Ofcom. Prior to joining Ofcom, she was a lawyer for 8 years, and he also has a bachelor's degree from Harvard University and a master's degree from Columbia University. Next, we have Mr. Chen Yuhong. He has 10 years of software development experience, and he has for a long time worked with the tech sector in Taiwan. And our panelist number 3 is Mr. Tang Jiashuo. He's the research manager of the Open Culture Foundation. He has, for a long time, been concerned about digital human rights and also public communication, as well as the technological advancements and dialogues. He is very experienced in this field. And finally, we have Associate Dean Huang Minghui. He was, PhD from the US. In recent years, he has devoted himself to the research of digital governance. He also participated in as a member of many commissions in government agencies. Yes, I would like to explain the time allocation. I will give each of our panelists 8 minutes to present. And let us now begin. Let us start with Ms. Camilla Bustani from Ofcom. I would like to invite her to share with us some of her views. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to be on the closing panel of these incredibly full and rich 2 days with all of you. Thank you once again for including me in these discussions. So I am the regulator on this panel. So I guess my role is to talk a little bit about how regulation helps to contribute to a safe and vibrant internet. And I think when we think about regulation, as we've been talking about it a lot over the last couple of days, we've generally been talking about confrontations with industry. We've been talking about issuing fines, launching investigations, the kinds of things that make the news, right? And regulators are being judged for how proactive they're being in taking action against platforms. That's absolutely a core part of our work. We do have to enforce against the duties that platforms have been given under our regimes. That's absolutely true. What we found, though, is sometimes we don't need to get, as we say, hot and heavy. Sometimes the mere threat of regulation will change corporate behaviors. It's almost as if they're just waiting for someone to remind them of the things they really should be doing, and then they will shift gears. And we saw that not long ago when we published draft codes of practice for illegal harms and protection of children, in which we were consulting on a number of measures that we might end up recommending platforms to take. And well before the consultation closed, we noticed some of the big platforms started making changes to their service design, working towards the things that we were consulting on. So we had Instagram introducing teen accounts, both Instagram and Meta making changes to make it impossible for adults to contact children who were not already known to them, and Telegram joining our child sexual abuse hotline. So those were very constructive steps. They were taken without any reference to our consultations, which is fine, because we're here to get outcomes, not to take credit necessarily. Although I will come back to that, because that is a challenge that we have to live with. But I think the thing which distinguishes the regimes that we're implementing, both in the UK with the Online Safety Act and to some extent in the EU with the Digital Services Act, is that it's a different paradigm of regulation than what we as regulators of the old communications industries were used to. So I like to call it, Regulation 1.0, when you have a list of rules and the regulator finds out about a breach, does an investigation, slaps a fine, moves on, probably doesn't engage with the stakeholder again until there's a sign of another breach and you move on. Where we are with online the digital space generally is a very different place. There is a sustained and intractable and probably growing information asymmetry between the regulators and the regulated entities. It's also very new for both of us to be in this space. So for the regulated entities, most of them have never had a relationship with a regulator before. Some of them will have been subject to competition regulation, but that's antagonistic by definition, almost, very different. Maybe data protection regulation, which is relatively, let's say, binary. So it's very clear what the rules are, less room for for interpretation, and they're pretty static. But online safety regulation is quite different, and we have not been ever before in regulating a market which changes as quickly as the digital markets change, both from the perspective of commercial models, they're evolving daily, and from the perspective of the technology, also evolving daily. So what we've developed in digital regulation is the concept of supervision. The closest analogy would be what we see in financial services markets, where you have teams in the regulator who are dedicated to the bigger, most important or riskiest stakeholders in the market, and they know them very, very well, and there is an ongoing dialogue. So we have developed this model of supervision with the most, let's say, far-reaching or riskiest services in the UK. And it gives us the opportunity to really understand their business models on a dynamic and ongoing basis. It gives us a chance to explain our regulatory expectations, particularly important for those companies who don't really understand what regulators do or why or how. And it gives us a chance also to identify some implementation challenges that they might be having along the way, which are to be expected, given that this is all very new territory. It's new for both of us, right? We're trying to regulate something that moves very fast, and they're being regulated for the first time. The benefits to them are that it enables us to be a lot more targeted and focused when we impose measures on them, or when we set out what we expect from them individually as services. And the benefits for us are that we understand them better and we have a better sense of what's coming ahead. So I would say supervision is the thing that most distinguishes these digital regimes from their predecessors. And we've had, I'll give you one example of some important success we've had with this model, and it relates to the adult content or porn industry. An industry we never had any contact with before, as you can imagine, and certainly an industry that never had to deal with regulators before. We began to engage with them a year and a half, 2 years ago, by attending their conferences, the industry conferences. So amongst content creators and industry folk, there appeared a couple of regulators with clipboards. At first, they were quite surprised and a little bit concerned, but it was an opportunity for us to demystify regulation, to explain to them on their home turf what it was that we were trying to achieve. We've now been to, I think, 14 industry conferences since 2023. And as a result of this early engagement, last summer, when our age verification obligations for the adult industry kicked in, we had really remarkable results. So I'm very pleased to say that, within a year of the obligations kicking in, today we've got the top 10 adult content sites have age verification, and over 70% of the top 100 also have age verification. So this is, I think, beyond the expectations we might have had 2 or 3 years ago. So that's the sort of bit that we can do within the UK. And it's really important, of course, and every country will have to have the frameworks in place to deal with the challenges that come up in their markets and to implement their laws. But one of the things which has been mentioned before over the course of the last 2 days, and of which this conference is a brilliant example, is the importance of international cooperation. Some of these companies are larger than the GDPs of some of the countries that are having to deal with them. They're all the same companies that are operating in all of our markets. They're creating a lot of the same challenges for us. It does just simply make sense for us to exchange our experiences, our insights, our understanding, and our expertise as we develop it. We like to say there's 2 purposes of international cooperation. There's the coordination piece and the coherence piece. I guess coordination is pretty straightforward. We might, a number of us, be issuing transparency information requests, for example. It would be great if we didn't all do it on the same day with the same deadline, because that's not going to make it very easy for industry to comply, and that's in no one's interests. Equally, if we are aware that someone is starting to take compliance or enforcement action, on an issue that we are also finding in our jurisdiction, then it's important for us to track that and to find out if there are any insights in the behaviors of those platforms that might be useful for us. Coherence is around the development of common norms or standards. For example, what makes a good risk assessment? Why would we want platforms to produce risk assessments to different standards across the world? Or what do metrics mean when we ask for information? What types of metrics should we be asking for? For instance, if we want to understand the prevalence of certain types of content, what do the metrics mean? We will be expecting companies to develop systems to enable them to report against the things that we are asking them to report on. So ideally, they won't have to create 50 different systems for the 50 different jurisdictions. There's a real opportunity for us to work together here and take away as much of the excuse as we can from companies for complying with our various regimes. So I'll just end by saying the arc of change is actually very slow. I think that would be my message to leave with you all. I say it's very slow, and that makes it very challenging for the regulator in particular. I think we have seen a lot of really important changes, but they've been incremental. And if you think about where we began and the kind of expertise we as regulators have had to develop and the understanding of regulation that platforms have had to develop, it's kind of not surprising that we haven't had a revolution in the last 3, 4, 5 years. But I think the mechanisms that I've described around supervision in particular make it all the more challenging. Essentially, the conversations we have with platforms, they are high impact but low visibility. That's kind of how we get the outcomes. So it's a lot of kicking legs under the waterline, and those are not always visible to politicians, to the press, to the public. And yet it is a really important piece of how we achieve our outcomes. So the big challenge for regulators is managing expectations, which come from all corners, and trying to bring people along with us on this journey. Thank you.
好，非常谢谢 Camilla 的分享啊。
Okay, thank you, Camilla, for your sharing. Yes, that is exactly what one has experienced. We need to come up with a model. And thank you for sharing with us your experiences and ideas. Next, we'd like to invite Mr. Duncan Chen to share with us his presentation. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the topic will be Taiwan Digital Identity Wallet that we are building on behalf of Ministry of Digital Affairs, MODA. The purpose of that is to building an interoperable and safe digital trust ecosystem. Of course, that truly echoes to our topic today. That is to build a safe and vibrant internet environment, as Camilla mentioned. On the internet, we are starting to see identity authentication or verification requirements, and these are the topic of our concern. Let me briefly introduce the Taiwan Digital Identity Wallet project. It is a project for 4 years. It's centered with the self-sovereign identity SSI model. It allows individuals to have the discretionary decision capability to decide how to use the digital identity. And for the core features of the digital wallet, number one, we adopt the W3C standards because there are all kinds of digital identity wallets in the world. They adopt different international standards. International standards could maximize the challenge of interoperability. So we try to adopt more prevalent international standards to improve interoperability. And also selective disclosure. With a digital identity, you'll be able to selectively disclose the information that you want to release to improve privacy. Distributed authentication and authorization system can improve security. On your phone, you'll be able to show your digital identity wallet for authentication. So that truly improves information security. I think what's interesting about the project is that we have already released a public code. As a participant of the project, I think it is truly a rare opportunity for us to see a public code like this because it is a large-scale and a very important project. And because of the release of the open source public code, we had the luxury to host these kind of competition to leverage this public code and the documents and information that's being published by the government to promote the collaboration between the public and the private sector and improve international interoperability. On the bottom of the slide, you'll see the workflows of these projects. Issuers will issue credentials, and the holder will have the app on the phone of the user, and the app will be able to send presentation to the verifiers. You'll be able to send full or part of the information for verification. There are all kinds of application scenarios. For example, you'll be able to retrieve the packages at convenience stores. When you get telecom credentials, the users will be able to present that at convenience stores, and you'll be able to disclose the last 3 or 5 digits of your phone number. The convenience store will be able to verify and allow the holder to receive the packages. And on both ends, the issuer and holder and verifiers are separated without interference. The verifiers will also not notify any third parties when doing the verification. So what a MODA will do is to establish the trusted list. That is what we learned from EU's trust list concept. The list will describe what are the published documents are reliable or trustworthy. There are certain services that has been verified by the authority concerned, by MODA. They'll be able to let the general public know what are the services that they can apply. Let me give you a simple example. In the past, for example, if you want to get a package at CVS, you'll be able to present your ID and the last 3 digits of your phone number. However, in this kind of scenario, do we really need a ID that's been published by the government? Not really. You can use a student ID to do that. The telecom service provider actually get the full name of the phone number holders. So the last 3 digits of your phone number and an ID is sufficient for verification. So you need only one telecom credentials for verification. And that really clarify certain issues. For example, CVS do not need the ID issued by the government. So with the establishment of different scenarios where we're able to clarify what are the informations that's really required? What are the scenarios that are really reasonable? For example, driver license, mobile driver license. It is usually required when you want to rent a car. And some people said that because there are many different scenarios that you can present your driver's license or your health insurance ID. And in these scenarios, you really do not need to present your national ID. And when in this digital identity wallet ecosystem, for example, driver's license, is it reasonable to be applied in different scenarios? That is a very good question because we want to understand whether the users are aware of the associated risk of privacy issues or other concerns. So we need to communicate with different stakeholders to establish these scenarios, and that is what MODA is trying to do. And these are the key issues that we are discussing today. Lastly, I would like to share with you some of the infrastructures behind the scene. For example, we have a very comprehensive sandbox testing environment. We open the source code to the public, and so you'll be able to download the testing version of TWDIW apps. Okay, with that, I'd like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Duncan Chen, for controlling your time and also explaining thoroughly the different parties involved in the digital trust ecosystem. Thank you very much. And our third speaker, third panelist, representing the civil society, Mr. Tang Jiashuo, the research manager of Open Culture Foundation. Now I would like to pass the mic to Mr. Tang. Okay, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very honored to be here at the last session of the day to share with you what the Open Culture Foundation is doing when it comes to internet freedom and how we facilitate the private sector to involve in relevant topics or issues. The civil society that I referred to represents these digital promoters, users, and affected communities, or even local SMEs. They're all included in the so-called private sector or civil society. And we've been hearing the topic of digital governance. It is actually very challenging to involve the civil society in the process because it has related to regulation, enactment, and the protection of the rights of these individuals or different parties in the digital world. So how we're able to really encourage the civil society to provide their insights. I would like to share with you based on our observation in the past. Firstly, we want to involve the local digital service providers in Taiwan because a lot of international operators, they have already made a lot of commitments regarding human rights and other important issues. So we work with Ranking Digital Rights in the beginning. In Korea, we work together with our counterparts in Malaysia and Korea to see that how they are doing in terms of users' privacy protection, protection of the users' freedom of expression, or the transparency involved. On these different topics, we assess or evaluate the local operators, but we are not picking faults or criticizing the local operators. We're just trying to help them to recognize what the international society is doing in these different areas to raise their awareness for these topics so that they can move forward toward this direction, especially when they're trying to expand their market from Taiwan to other countries or other regions. So we start from these local operators.
During this process, there was an incident in Taiwan, which was the promulgation of the Intermediate Services Act. Therefore, we wanted to organize workshops and forums for the private sectors because we want to reach out to people who are not necessarily concerned about digital services. We want to let them know that we are taking steps to balance risk of an open digital services with the security. During our discussions, we found that the private sector were not prepared to talk about governance. Many of our discussions were in the were high-level discussions. We talked about whether the government was able to control or manage speech on the internet. We are very concerned whether the freedom of speech has been undermined. This is very natural. However, unfortunately, when we talk about governance, for instance, whether we need a governance mechanisms, or do we need to have a complaints system, all of these are less discussed during our forums. However, during this process, we also learned how to direct the private sector into discussing more concrete items. And so we started from the more difficult issues. For instance, at the given time, there were specific issues so that the private sector will be more willing to participate because the matters actually concern themselves. In addition, because the items being discussed are current affairs, the participants will be more willing to take part. That is why we, for instance, in 2025, there was a incident that involved child protection, online child protection. So we invited representatives from the online safety sector to discuss what are the mechanisms in Taiwan by which we can report, for instance, child safety abuses online, how we can report lack of protection of online safety. These are very important issues in Taipei. So we have actually carried out discussions on these topics. However, unfortunately, we were deducted 1 point from the international ranking organizations. This is the reason why we invited experts and to help us understand how can we align the standards being implemented in Taiwan with international standards. In addition, last year there were also many incidents involving the advertisements of e-cigarettes. We also invited platform operators to explain to them what is user-appropriate content. We need to let the operators understand that the contents that they put up may or may not be user appropriate. So we make use of these issues to guide our discussions. Our activities were normally conducted during evenings because people usually have to go to the office go to work in the daytime. So that is why we conducted our meetings in the evening. We can normally have around 30 to 40 participants. This shows that the private sector is normally concerned about issues online. However, the important thing here is that the issue should be timely and the issue should be relevant to the participants. Currently, because of the proliferation of the internet, because of the widespread use of the internet, there has been a decentralization of contents and also of accountability. Whether this is good or bad, I will not comment on this. However, this will have an impact on governance because it will make it more difficult for us to understand the current status of governance in Taiwan because it is decentralized. We don't know what is the hierarchy within the entire governance system. Therefore, we thought that we have to start a research because we don't have a specific set of guidelines for governance. However, we need to collect some of the relevant guidelines in Taiwan. For instance, recently we published a paper on how the different government agencies may carry out their investigations on potential violations. So we could only interview the stakeholders in order for us to get the necessary data. So this is currently what we are doing right now. I'd just like to share this with you. I hope that there will be increased participation from the private sector on the governance of the internet. This is something that we should work together with the other sectors. Thank you very much. In the past, since the introduction of the internet, we often talk about literacy, and then gradually we have expanded our discussions. As the application of the internet increases, governance and also literacy has become very important issues. It has become something that concerns every user. And when the private sector hear about governance, the reactions will be more or less calm. There will not be very violent reactions or oppositions to governance. Next, I would like to invite Professor Dean Huang Minghui to share with us his insights. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank everyone who are here today. I'm very happy that you have lasted until the end of the conference. Today we are talking about a safe and a vibrant internet. This is also what we all look forward to achieving. Of course, these two things may or may not be complementary. But before we discuss this, we first want to know, is the internet safe? So if it is unsafe, then what makes it unsafe? If it is unsafe, why is it unsafe? It is unsafe because there are so many fake information. There are violent content or sexual content, right? This will make us feel that the internet is a very bad place. However, all of these problems in our physical world also exist. For instance, in my generation, my parents always hated it when we watched television because my parents believed that television is the source of all evil. However, today we don't have television, but we have the internet. So I have listed a few reasons why the internet may or may not be safe. For instance, we have anonymity. We have the use of pseudonyms on the internet, and we don't have a oversight. However, when we want to say that the internet is unsafe compared to the real world, we have to think about something else. In the physical world, sometimes we really don't have no place to hide. For instance, bullying. We talk about campus bullying, about workplace bullying. We cannot escape the fact that we are being bullied because we have to go to school, we have to go to work. However, on the internet, we have the use of pseudonyms, or we have cyberbullying. There's one way to prevent this. We just keep distance from this websites or contents. So I'd like to ask whether the internet is really dangerous. Well, I think it is dangerous subjectively, but objectively it may or may not be dangerous. It is dangerous in the sense that sometimes it becomes uncontrollable because people use the internet, they become addicted, they become feel unsafe. For instance, if you travel to South Korea on vacation, then and when you come back and then you posted your pictures from your vacation in South Korea, and after a few weeks or a few months, you may take down those pictures because your appearance has changed, right? So, however, over the internet, it is not like this, right? So from this, we can see that the internet can really make us feel as unsafe. And because of this, people expect the government to have legislation to oversee the use of the internet. So the government have actually taken measures. However, cyberbullying is always a topic that is very difficult. For instance, we talk about hate speech. Hate speech, we know that it is bad, but we cannot expect that the government to control hate speech because the accuracy of control and also the implementation is always very difficult. Because if we want to implement any ban on hate speech, we need to have a standard, and these standards may result in over-blocking, or it may be too lenient. If you want to be more flexible, then you need to have people to actually screen the speeches. There are many codes. There are many ways to express certain ideas over the internet. For instance, in the internet we can have, for instance, candy, which is a code for illegal drugs. And also in other countries, we have, for instance, Yahoo and Google. Okay, so it actually has other meaning. Okay, and also Skittles, right? For instance, it's also a code for Muslims, right? So if we use Skittles as our keyword, then we cannot actually find the culprit. We cannot find what we actually want. I have another example. There was a newspaper in the U.S. on July 4. It published this statement. So it published a statement which alluded the Native Americans to barbarians, to very warlike, right? Which are very negative, right? These are, of course, a negative, very hate speech. However, this statement is actually from a statement made by Thomas Jefferson on the Declaration of Independence. And that newspaper actually published this statement, and this statement was taken out of context, and then it became a hate speech. So when we talk about hate speech, basically it comes from the belief of every individual. If we think that something is bad, we want to control that. However, there is a timeliness also involved. For instance, in Germany, there is a ban against hate speech. For instance, but starting from 2017, ASB it has improved from 70% to 20%. Therefore, timeliness is very important. The more that you want to control it, the more you want to ban it, it will always find another way to exist or to spread. Therefore, we need to be able to establish a way where we can safely control them. The stronger we control, the more specific we have to be. However, when we become very specific, there is also a risk of overblocking. Therefore, my suggestion is we need a soft law instead of hard law. In other words, we use soft law to guide, to guide the reduction of hate speech or other improper acts over the internet. There are, in recent years, scholars that advocates these measures. However, if we really want to stop hate speech over the internet, sometimes it will be counterproductive because sometimes we will also block those speeches, those statements that are actually opposing hate speech. This is about security.
And how to create a vibrant environment. We mentioned about the accountability of platforms. We want the government to stand on the first line. However, we want to remind you that too strong regulation will cause the environment to be less vibrant. I can quote the controversies of Meta. Meta need to deal with hundreds of millions of cases of controversies per quarter, and maybe 1 to 3% will have appeal issues. So oversight board can only handle maybe 50 plus cases per year. That is a dozen cases per quarter. So if you allow a private regulator to have such a great power, however, the support of subsidy provided is quite limited. So how to really create a vibrant and safe environment? We need to apply soft regulations. We need to provide guidelines to the general public and the private sector and the operators. In the meantime, not to focus on takedown or blocking. They need to promote those softer regulations or guidance. And you need to cooperate with third parties, maybe softwares or applications, to let the users set up their environment and to empower the users. And the operators can also provide all kinds of empowerments, but the users need to respect their own rights. I use this children and teenagers' interest for examples. More than 80% of teenagers or children have mobile devices. However, those devices that has been installed with parental supervision apps is less than 30 or 20%. So my conclusion is that we need to truly encourage dialogue to truly moderate the environment of polarization. We may not be able to change other people's thoughts, but at least we can promote understanding and create better orders. Last but not least, please do not forget the advice from Louis Brandeis: the greatest menace to freedom is an inner people. This is a very important quote, so I wrote it 3 times. We really need to establish these environment by ourselves. We need to have the right awareness, and everybody will see it as his or her own obligation to do so. Only by doing so can we really create a safe and vibrant environment on the internet. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dean Huang, Associate Dean Huang, for your comments. He quoted a lot of examples in his presentation. A lot of the informations or guidelines on the internet may be outdated if these words are being enacted decades or even hundreds of years ago. Professor Huang mentioned, highlight the border lines and boundaries that we need to follow in order to create a safe and vibrant environment. Soft regulations, soft laws, and holding the users accountable or empower the users in creating a safer and more vibrant environment that is part of the internet literacy. Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, we have finished the presentations of our panelists. Now we will open the floor for questions. If there's no question from the audience, I would like to raise a few questions for them to answer. If there's still enough time, we will open the floor later. My first question to Camilla. We know that DSA in EU is the first to adopt DSA. I'm curious to know that Associate Dean Huang mentioned the importance of soft law or soft regulations. I wonder whether EU and UK, what will be your view on that? Are you still applying soft regulations or guidelines for such issues? Please, Camilla, please share with us your insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't really speak for the DSA. I know that there are guidelines that platforms that participate have to take account of. In the UK, the way that the Online Safety Act is structured is that we produce codes of practice which set out recommended measures. They're not binding, but they provide a safe harbor. So platforms have to carry out a risk assessment, and depending on the risks that they identify on their service, they look at the code of practice for the recommended measures for each of those risks. If they adopt the measures in the code of practice, then there's a presumption of compliance with their duties under the Act. They don't have to use those because they might have better ideas. So we're open to that. If they want to use different measures, they just simply have to explain to us why those would be effective. The key bit there is the accountability to the regulator. So it's not soft law as such, but it's a softer version of a legal obligation. The legal obligation is the duty. The way in which they meet the duty is more fluid, put it that way. In addition to the codes of practice, which, by the way, are, I would say, not quite live documents, but they're expected to iterate. So we are already looking to revise the ones that we published last year because through the experience of supervision, of enforcement, of transparency, information requests that we receive, and through the evidence that we commission and gather, we are constantly learning about what works better and what works less well, and also from our conversations with international counterparts. So the codes of practice themselves are always evolving. In addition to that, and separate, the Act requires us to adopt some non-binding guidance, which essentially is just a statement of best practices. Platforms are not obliged to follow them, but it's sort of felt that by putting it out there, at least we bring awareness to the issues, and the public can hold them to account for it as well. So we published last year, which I mentioned in earlier session, some guidance on keeping women and girls safe online. That's something that we're required to do under the Act. It's not binding, but it sets out a number of particular types of harms that affect women and girls that we've deduced from all of our research, and sets out the kinds of measures that we would expect platforms to have in place to address those harms. Thank you.
谢谢卡梅拉回答。那
Okay, thank you, Camilla, for your answer. Yes, I think these are a very good practice for us to act as a reference. It's a mix of hard and soft laws, like a cocktail therapy, you can say that. Okay, Mr. Chen, regarding the digital wallet topic, with the emergence of AI agent, how are we able to strengthen the mechanism to avoid the relevant risk. Okay, AI agent has been a really hot topic during the past 2 days. It is also a really imminent issue. For example, is it possible for us to identify the person that is interacting with you as a real person or an AI agent? And actually, we are also discussing this topic, whether we are really dealing with a real person or an AI agent. That's creating all kinds of comments. So we tend to provide a usable solution for the reference of the operators. For example, for the authentication of mobile phones, that can ensure that you are a natural person in Taiwan. But in the meantime, this system will not disclose the mobile phone information to the platform of operators. In many scenarios, the operator or platform will require you to enter the mobile phone for identity authentication, but it actually does not really need the exact number. As long as you hold a mobile phone number account in Taiwan, you can already prove that you are a natural person here in the country. So issues like this has been the focus of MODA in recent years, and we are trying to improve the practices in this area. Okay, thank you very much. And for Mr. Tang, you mentioned a draft of certain laws in this area, and also the roles that's been played by civil society. I have 2 questions for you. Number one, facing the legislation, there are different regulations governing different topics or issues. As for the distributed of legislation, what do you think is the most effective way for civil society or organizations to involve? Secondly, in terms of reducing the risk on platforms, as Associate Dean Huang mentioned, it's difficult to find a balance between the two. On these topics that do not have a standard answer, what would be the most important role for the civil society against these topics? Okay, thank you for your questions. I think we have 2 minutes left, so I try to answer the 2 questions all together. I think the civil society is at a very flexible position. We are one of the stakeholders, but in the meantime, because of our mission, because of our roles, we'll be able to take a more flexible role in playing our roles among these different stakeholders. I think what really important is to really take the interest of multiple stakeholders into consideration. We cannot just think for ourselves or the topics of our own concern. I think in the dialogues regarding digital platforms with the government, we know that government different agencies have their considerations for efficiency or protecting the general public. However, we cannot be limited by the issue of efficiency only. We should only take the other factors into consideration. We cannot just take down the negative contents from the internet that may cause damage to the general public. As the civil society participants, I once participated in a larger meeting. There were operators asking that when facing some countries, if they have a more autonomous demand for the platforms, would it be the platform operators dealing with the issues by themselves, or other stakeholders need to involve in the process? That is a very difficult challenge. How we're able to collaborate with other private sector participants to really improve the actual practice. So I think we should put ourselves in other people's shoes and take other stakeholders' interests into consideration.
汤经理。
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to address my question to Professor Wan. On your last line of your slide, you actually repeated the statement 3 times. The greatest menace to freedom is an inert people. My question is the government. How can the government help increase the competence of the users in this regard? This is a very big question. As a scholar of legal affairs, I think that the main thing is the primary task is education. Currently, we focus on campus education, so we need to understand the extent of the efficiency of our education. And number 2, we need to know how many parents know that there are channels, there are resources to help them build a very good environment. Therefore, I think that this is something that the government should do, and the government should release information about these resources and opportunities. This is also where guidance is important. The government should guide the operators. We cannot leave everything to the operators. We cannot say that we will block the operators from doing this or doing that. However, normally when we use a certain platform, because we want to use the platform, so we will just use the default settings. However, after that, the platform will think that, okay, that's good. The default appears to be okay. However, I think that we need to guide the operators to remind them that you need to recheck your settings every now and then. So for me, I think that campus education is very important. And for adults, then we need to be able to guide the operators to release information so that the users will know that they have different tools, different resources to help improve the security and also increase the vitality of the internet. However, if we want to only use a mandatory takedown, then it's not very productive. As a scholar as a legal scholar, I think that this is very important because I myself is also a teacher, so I think education is very important. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think our discussion will end at this point. On behalf of NCC, I would like to thank everyone for taking part in our activities over the past 2 days. Our session today, the last session, actually covered parts of the previous 6 sessions. Over the last 2 days, we have 7 sessions, and we have heard from different experts and scholars. We have also guests from the UK and different European countries. They talk about legal affairs, they talk about their breakthroughs and some of the experiences that may help Taiwan. We also hear from our panelists their experiences with DSA, so that in Taiwan, we will also be able to reference their experiences. We also know that Taiwan is not alone in trying to promote the different aspects of online services. faced with this ever-changing technology, governance, of course, needs to be flexible. As a part of this digital landscape, Taiwan will continue to play its role, and Taiwan will use its the multi-stakeholder model. We believe that the challenge of the internet is not the sole responsibility of one government. 3 years ago, we organized our first ever forum, and this year we actually expanded the scope of our forum. And over the last 2 years, I think we have achieved several consensus, and then which is 3 years we wanted to create a very responsible digital landscape. I think that today this is also applicable because from the experience of the implementation of DSA, we have learned this. We face many challenges. However, we will convert these challenges into opportunities for the future. Finally, I would like to thank our guests who have traveled from afar, from overseas, to be with us over the past 2 days. And the end of our forum is actually the beginning of our collaboration. Let us work together in the future so that we can jointly create a more resilient and also safer online environment. Thank you very much.
诸位的主持以及本场语坛人精彩的对谈，那我们请舞台上的贵宾们就是稍作停留，我们一起看向前方的摄影师，我们一起留一张珍贵的合影。May we please invite all speakers on stage to stay for a moment and look towards the front to the photographer. We will now have a group photo. Okay, thank you very much. You may now return to your seats.